Are you tired of the non-stop hustle and grind? Welcome to Life in Business, the podcast for business owners who want success without sacrificing life. I'm Libby Langley, your host, award-winning no BS straight-talking business coach, Amazon best-selling author, and the queen of easy business. Join me to learn simple and practical strategies for growing your business, your profits, and your confidence, and for having fun too. Here's this week's episode. Hello, welcome to another episode of Life in Business, a podcast with me, Libby Langley. Nice to see you here again. Thank you very much, as ever, for being part of the Life in Business journey. What should we talk about today? Do you know what? Overwhelm, I think, is a good thing. And I start off saying, what should we talk about today? Because that's kind of from overwhelm, right? That's a kind of, oh, what are we doing? Where are we? Who am I? And that's the kind of feeling that overwhelm evokes, right? And you will be very familiar with that, I'm sure. And the thing about overwhelm is that it can be quite hard to kind of rationalize it, right? It's something that everybody feels absolutely in business. There's no two ways about that, right? It's something that we all feel and we all go through from time to time. But what the secret is, I guess, with overwhelm is to kind of acknowledge that it exists and to manage it. And the thing about acknowledging it makes it easier to manage it. You can't get rid of it. I mean, well, I don't know a way. You can't get rid of it because it pops up and it pops up and it pops up. But the thing that you can do and the thing that you can be really, I don't know, kind of smart about, I suppose, is the way that you deal with it when it happens. And there's loads of reasons that it can happen. I mean, particularly if you're one of my neurodivergent gang, then you know what it's like, and you'll know that you're having, even while you're listening to this, you're having 846 other thoughts and other ideas. And that's tough, right? I mean, that's the kind of, oh my goodness me, that's just like the ongoing forever overwhelm. The brain never stops. So there's that side of things. And then there's also there's a lot going on at the minute, kind of overwhelm. Yeah, it's almost one's sort of an internal force and the other one's an external force, really. But for me, my overwhelm is partly too many ideas. You know, I have a lot of ideas, but I manage that. I'm pretty good at managing that now, and I will not action all my ideas. I know, right? Radical, right? Just don't action them all. And I'll sit and think about them and I'll maybe plan them in my head, but I don't actually do anything with them. And that in itself can take away some of the overwhelm. You still get the kind of dopamine hit of, oh my God, I've had this amazing idea. I'm so clever, but look at my brilliant brain. But actually, you're not putting more pressure on yourself to make this thing happen. And also having too many things in my diary. That's a real biggie for me. And at the moment, my diary is absolutely jam-packed. You know, today, at the day of recording, I've already had 2 meetings and I'm being interviewed for 2 podcasts later on today. So that, as well as recording my own podcast, that's a lot in one day, right? For me, that I find that they all take a lot of energy. Yeah, they all take a lot of energy and a lot of effort. And I give everything to all of the things that I do. And having so many things in the diary like that, it means that I kind of don't get any other stuff done. And that, for me, that's where the overwhelm comes from, right? I enjoy the things. I enjoy the meetings. Does anybody ever say they enjoy meetings? I don't know. I mean, they're okay because I like the clients that I've got. But I enjoy the kind of being in the thing, but it's how to manage it during the day that causes the overwhelm. So, you know, if you've got something at 10 o'clock, and then you've got something at 1:30, that time in between is, I think, when the overwhelm creeps in. And I think this is a neurodivergent thing. And I say that with no scientific background whatsoever, just from my own experience. But I think that's a neurodivergent thing, that if you've got something at 1:30, it's really hard to get anything done before 1:30. And so the not necessarily being able to kind of focus on the stuff on your to-do list builds things up into this kind of overwhelm. So it's almost like too many things happening at once that you have to do these energy shifts between, and too many exciting plans, right? It's different. That's different from too many ideas, but too many things going on, almost too many things that you're involved with, which is great and which is really exciting, which is how you grow a business, how you grow your kind of what's the word I'm looking for, authority, and how everything happens. But it can be a lot to deal with, and certainly if you have a neurodivergent brain, then doing nothing and having that space to do nothing is kind of really needed. It's needed for everybody, this headspace and this time out. But certainly when you've got such a busy brain as that, and your brain doesn't necessarily cope too well with lots of things at once, you need time when there is nothing. And it's that time when there is nothing, when the magic happens, right? So the first thing to do in kind of managing your overwhelm is to think about, why are you overwhelmed? And what is it for you? When you might not be overwhelmed right at this minute, but you will be, and you have been, right? And so why is that? Is it that your diary is too full? Is it that you haven't got enough time? You feel like you haven't got enough time? And I'm not sure that not having enough time is necessarily ever kind of quite right, because we do all have an awful lot of time. It's about how we manage it that matters, right? Not enough income, that can cause overwhelm. If you're not where you want to be in business, then all the things that you need to do in order to get where you want to be can be massively overwhelming, right? And it's this kind of pressure that you can put on yourself that can be quite challenging. We're not kind to ourselves a lot of the time, and we should be kinder to ourselves, yeah? And too much to do. And too much to do really, I think, is in the same camp as not enough time. For the most part, we have enough time and we are able to do all the things. It's the overwhelm that makes us think that we can't. And I say us because, feel the same. Feel the same today. So, like I said, my diary today is rammed. This week is so busy. Next week is so busy. There's a lot of things going on at the moment. And I find it quite difficult to actually get anything done because of all these meetings and the time between meetings being like false time almost. I don't know. You'll understand that if your brain is wired like me. And so this is why I wanted to record this episode, really, and talk about overwhelm and talk about some ways to manage it. And I've called this episode Foolproof Ways to Manage Overwhelm. And I mean, nothing is ever foolproof, right? I don't think. But these are as close as possible that I can think of for absolutely simplifying stuff and helping you see things differently. And that's what it takes with overwhelm. That's what it takes, is to just allow yourself or enable yourself to look at things in a slightly different way. And then it all becomes clear, right? That's it, So today, in my really busy day, I'd had 2 meetings back to back to do the same project, but with slightly different groups of people. So 2 meetings back to back, and I've got loads of stuff that I need to do, just loads of stuff that I need and want to get done this week, including recording this podcast episode, right? But I just kind of sat on my desk, and then, of course, I picked up my phone and saw that there were red dots. So there's all stuff that needs engaging with there and responding to. And I don't mean mindless scrolling, but I mean, is that somebody who needs something replying to? And, it all has to be done. It all has to be done in a day. So I did a bit of that. And then it's like, stop. This isn't the thing that I need to be doing now. I need to record my podcast. That's a real important thing that I do every week. But my brain wouldn't switch, right? Because there's too many things to do. There's so much in my diary. There's so many things going on. And this kind of feeling of, oh my God. Yeah. Which it's almost based on nothing really, but that's kind of what happens. So I'll tell you what I did. I went and did some star jumps on the landing just outside my office. And for about 20 seconds, wasn't for long. And it was quite funny because my husband's working from home today. And so Ever the content creator, I got him to just film me and then did a post about it on social media, which you might have seen last week. That would have gone out at the time of you listening to this. And so it's kind of quite funny. But the thing is, it was just a moment of silliness, right, that made me laugh and took me away from my desk and gave me something else to think about. And maybe the physical activity plays a part in this too. But just by doing that little minute away, it makes a big difference, because then you can come back to your desk and you can sit down and you can say, right, what am I doing? And everything just feels clearer. There's something so powerful about stepping away, which sounds so counterintuitive, you know? It's like, I've got loads to do, I haven't got enough time, I've got too many things to do, my diary's really full, there's so much to do, I don't have enough time, I've not got enough income, so I need to do more. But actually, the best thing that you can do in that very moment is just to step away for a minute. It's just to step aside and to give your poor brain, a bit of a rest and a bit of respite. And that reset allows you to then just think, right, what is it? What am I doing? What do I need? Excuse me, I just needed a drink then. I feel like I've got a frog in my throat, which is not great when you're recording a podcast. So, excuse me. At least it's not as bad as the time when I had a terrible chest infection about 4 or 5 months ago. Oh, it was awful. Honestly, I could hardly say a sentence without coughing. And I had to did a big talk on stage, which was absolutely incredible. But I just felt like I was going to die. And I couldn't say 3 words without coughing. So it's awful. But today I've got a bit of a tickle, which is really irritating. So I apologise for that. It does not feel professional in my podcast to be spluttering over you. But we're all friends here, right? So it doesn't matter. So walking away and stepping away is something that's really excellent in terms of managing your overwhelm. And another thing that is really good is to write it all down, right? Get it out of your head. Write it as a real kind of brain dump, almost incoherent list of things. And then from that, you can build a bit of a plan and you can say, do you know what? What is that thing? That doesn't need doing. Cross that out. Or, oh, right, okay, so what's the priority stuff that I need to do? And are there actually as many things to do as I think there are to do? Or is it perceived overwhelm? And in my case, perceived overwhelm is, I guess it is overwhelm. Overwhelm is a feeling, is a kind of emotion, but it's almost based on kind of nothing. Because if you are focused and you know exactly what it is that you want to achieve, so we're talking about having a clear focus on a goal here, then all the things that you think you need to do, are they actually going to help you get towards where you want to be? And then you can just say yes or no. And if you write everything down on Post-it notes, you can put them in a yes pile and a no pile. And the no pile you can just sort of chuck away or put in a drawer for when you've got more time. When you block out 3 days to just get all those nice to haves done. But if you know exactly what it is that you want to achieve, then you will know whether those things are worth doing or not. And for me, even though my diary is absolutely chock-a-block at the moment, yes, they are. And some things are client meetings. So, right, that's my service delivery. That's fine. That's what I do. My client calls, meetings about projects. That's income generating and service clients, right? So that's really important. And the other things for me are largely kind of speculative meetings and also podcast interviews, that kind of thing. And that's all about positioning and reaching a new audience and marketing for me. So again, really important stuff. So whilst if you're in a corporate, you might have meetings about meetings, right? So bad. I remember my days of working in the public sector and did genuinely have some meetings to set agendas for future meetings. It's just such an utter waste of time. But it certainly could have been an email. But it's less common when you're running your own business, right? I mean, I suppose the equivalent might be, a one-to-one with somebody that you've met. And sometimes if you're filling your diaries with one-to-ones and these people aren't either your ideal client or somebody who's going to be able to collaborate with you or support you or knows your ideal client, is connected to your ideal client, they're kind of a nice to do, right? It's lovely to have chats with people and get to know people. But if you're in a stage of overwhelm and you already feel like there's too much going on, you ain't got space in your diary for that. You just haven't. Because is it going to help you get to where you want to go? Not at the minute. Just not at the minute. So maybe schedule those calls for a week when there isn't, or a few days, block them all into a few days when there isn't anything else kind of urgent and pressing. You are absolutely in control of your diary, right? And of your time. It's so important for you to remember that you're the one who said yes to all this stuff. Yeah. It's your choice. Absolutely. It's your choice. And sometimes the choices that we make and sometimes the things that we commit to, we're not kind of consciously doing. And it's like, I can just squeeze that. I could just squeeze that in at 3:30, 4:30, 5 o'clock. I could just squeeze that in. And it's like, you don't want to be doing that, really. That's you think you can squeeze it in, but actually when it comes to it, it just adds to the overwhelm. And also, as you're going through your day and you think you've finished your meetings and then you're like, oh God, I've got one meeting at 4:30. Why did I do that? It changes the energy and it changes the dynamic and it changes the level of overwhelm that you're feeling. So it is okay to say no to things. It's absolutely to say okay to say no to things. It's okay to say no to things. And it's okay to put things off for a bit. I had an email from someone yesterday who I met at a networking meeting at the end of 2023. I can't remember when it was, mid-December sometime. I forget when this online meeting was. And lots of people wanted one-to-ones, which is fine. That always happens at networking meetings. But because it's coming up for a month later, you kind of forget about it. If it's not done straight away, then there's no interest. And I got an email from someone yesterday requesting a one-to-one, and we'd not had any communication since. As to my knowledge, we're not connected on LinkedIn, so there's been no sort of rapport building, I suppose. And this person has asked for a one-to-one, and it's like, I don't have the time, or sure, they're a great, fantastic person. It's nothing to do with them at all. But my overwhelm managing process was, I don't have time or headspace at the minute for just a chat. I don't. So unless there's something specific to be discussed, then let's have a chat by email, or let's connect on social media and see where we go. And it sounds unfriendly, and people are frightened of kind of going back with responses like that. But it's like, what's my priority? I know what my goal is. I know what my focus is. Therefore, this is the stuff that I'm doing at the minute. And there is not time to just have a chat. I won't be focused on the chat. I won't be, because I'll be thinking about all the other things that really I could be doing in this time. And then you have to make those decisions. And like I say, it's absolutely no reflection on whether this person is a really nice person and you might get on really well and all of that. It's about choosing what your priorities are and pushing things like that the nice to-dos, pushing them back to a clearer day, to setting a day aside when you're going to do loads of one-to-ones. And then you could invite loads of people. You can manage it differently. You could say, right, I'm just doing one-to-ones today to get to know people better. Who wants one? They're 30 minutes each. I can do 6 in a day. That's what I'm doing. And you'll get some really interesting people taking you up on that. But you've made the conscious decision to set aside the time to do that. And that's very different to trying to cram stuff in when your headspace is thinking about something else, right? So if I'm having a day of podcast interviews or of recording my own podcast, thinking about this, then to put in a a one-to-one of just chatting about stuff. It's a different energy. Yeah. It's a different kind of headspace to be in. And so I won't do it. And you have to learn that to manage, in order to be able to manage your overwhelm. You have to have boundaries, and you have to stick to the boundaries, and you have to be strict on what it is that you actually want to achieve. And don't worry, none of this is just going to turn you into a first-class bitch. It just isn't. It's about being focused and knowing that your business is your business and making your conscious business decisions. And if you make conscious business decisions, then that will all help you to manage your overwhelm, because you know what you're focused on, you know what you want to achieve, you know what you're doing. No, does that fit? Yes. Does that fit? No. Does that conversation fit in with this? It doesn't at the minute. So I'm going to do it next week or the week after. Or you can walk away and do star jumps. Both are equally valid plans in this. And then the kind of creme de la creme of ways of managing your overwhelm is to absolutely get out of your business for a day. To get out of your business, to spend the day with other people, and to just talk about what you want to focus on. And this, in all honesty, is one of the reasons that I've set up. I've not taken on any more one-to-one clients, and I'm running mastermind days throughout 2024 instead. It's because there is something so powerful in taking that full day out of your business to talk about your business, rather than to do and to have meetings and this and that. And I've got all these things to do, and I'm so overwhelmed, just to go, do you know what? I am taking a day out. I am going to focus on and refocus on what it is that I want to achieve. I'm going to put a plan in place of how I'm going to do that. I'm going to talk about the boundaries that I need to set. I'm going to talk about which activities are going to be the most productive. And I'm going to get these kind of questions that might be floating about answered. And I'm going to come away from that day with a really solid plan, a list of objectives, a list of action points, and then I'm going to work on them. And that is one of the most powerful things that you can do in your business. I have always had days like this regularly for myself. I've invested in those, and now I'm running them in 2024 for this exact reason, to kind of stop this driving yourself nuts by sitting at your desk not knowing what to do next, because you just kind of get lost in your own head. There's ways to support it. So I'm running one every month in person. They will in my house in Chesterfield, which is going to be kind of fun. Chesterfield, Derbyshire in the UK. So feel free, to travel from abroad. That would be rather exciting. But if you are miles away, a million miles away, or in a different country, then I'm going to be doing some online ones too. So then the next date is the 23rd of January. Then we've got the 15th of February, the 14th of March, the 16th of April. I'll put a link in the show notes as to when they are. But if you're interested, then please message me and ask me any questions that you've got about this, and get yourself booked in for the mastermind days, because it's probably the best thing that you can do. And if you did a mastermind day every 4 months, your business will be transformed and your headspace will be transformed. And I'm not saying that something like that will forever stop you having any overwhelm, but it helps you focus, right? It helps you focus on this one thing that you want to achieve and this one direction that you want to go in. And that's what makes you a better business owner, by taking the time to do things like that. It stops you adding to your overwhelm, in that it stops you offering too much, too many things, over delivering, people pleasing. It stops you losing your focus. Yeah. And these are all things that are overwhelm bringing. They all are. If you've got this really clear focus on what you want, then yeah, things can get busy and there can be a lot to do, and your diary can get full. Absolutely. But it helps you to do the yes and no filter. Yes, I say yes to this. No, I say no to that. And there'll be times when things are busier and there'll be times when things are quieter. But if you're focused on your one thing, you're focused on your one direction, it just does make things so much easier. And that's what we want, right? You know that I'm the queen of easy business. You know that what I really believe in and what I talk about the most and what I help all my clients with the most is making things easier, making things more straightforward, having the most time back that you can possible, and earning the most money that you can while you're at it. And that's what it's all about, right? That's what having a business is about. It's having freedom, flexibility, choice, and just being the person that you want to be in the business that you want. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or anybody else says to you. It's your business. It's your choice. It's your way. And having the support of others to be able to just get it all off your chest and get everything sorted makes such a phenomenal difference. So I'd love to see you at one of my mastermind days. Message me for any more details, but the link's in the show notes. And as for today's session, I've given you some really great tools there, and just so flipping simple, right? Really great tools for managing the overwhelm that you feel on a day-to-day basis. So this might be one that you want to listen back to get the reassurance that it's not just you. Absolutely, it's not just you. We all go through it, but there are some simple tools and techniques that you can use and implement to just make it a bit easier, right? Make it a bit easier and a bit better. And that's what I want for you in your business. So thanks for joining me again. As ever, it's been a pleasure, and I love the fact that you're here and listening. It means the absolute world to me. So thank you, and I will see you next week. Bye. Thank you for listening to Life in Business. Please make sure that you subscribe or follow so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's show, please leave a review, as it helps others to find the podcast and spread the word that there's an easier way to do business. If you want to chat with me about today's episode or suggest a topic for the future, I would love to hear from you. You can find me on Instagram @Libby Langley. See you next week.